My mom's friend's granddaughter had a babysitter who wore thong underwear. And she really, really wanted a pair of thong underwear. And her mom said, absolutely not. And she's like, but Mom, I really, really want a pair of thong underwear. And now I think she's, 9, 10, something like that. Her mom says, absolutely not. Dad says, no freaking way. So Mom says she went and did laundry one day, and lo and behold, she, took out her laundry and thought, what the heck is this? And my God, I hope this girl isn't here because she's old enough to be here now. It's quite a few years ago. And her mom found a pair of underwear with Scotch tape on it. And her mom says, what are you doing? She says, well, you wouldn't buy me a pair of thong underwear, so I cut them and I used tape to hold them together. So she made her own thong underwear. Now, I don't know about the rest of you guys, but, thong underwear, I spend most of the time digging my underwear out of my rear. I wouldn't want anything to go up there, so just saying. And then to have Scotch tape there, I don't know. Not my idea of a good time. Anyway, that's not my story, but that was my kind of break myself in here. My story is things are not what they appear to be. So my husband travels a lot for his job. I'm home by myself most of the time. And, we've been doing this for, just about 10 years or 10 years. And I'm not a chicken. I'm not a fraidy cat. This particular night, chicken ass. I'm laying in bed at about 2 in the morning. My dog starts barking. I'm like, oh, she doesn't bark. So I'm like, okay, this is weird. So I walk out the door and I hear this thump, 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 bang, bang, thump, thump. I'm like, okay, we're remodeling our house. It kind of sounds like the dampers on the vent going off. And I'm like, well, I haven't heard this now, so why is it doing it now? I'm like, okay, walk out and investigate. The noise stops. Go out in the kitchen. There's my dog sitting by the front hall, just sprawled out, all kicked back, relaxed. I'm like, okay, cool. Just a noise, things that go bump in the night. And I look out the back door, or at the back window, and the light is on. That light never comes on. I'm thinking, okay, I'm a little uneasy now. So I go back to my room, shut my door, and all of a sudden, I start hearing the noise again. I'm like, okay. I open up my door. I'm going down the hall. And the noise stops again. I'm like, okay, there's somebody in my house. There's somebody in my house. Okay, what do I do? So I go back to my room, shut the door, pick up the phone, call the police, 911. I think I have someone in my house. I think there's someone in my house. And she's like, ma'am, just calm down. We'll get somebody over there. I said, okay. And she's going through the whole spiel. And I'm like, yep, I'm hearing this banging. And I go up there and I don't know, maybe somebody's repossessing my furnace. I don't know. I don't know that there's somebody in my house. And so I'm like, peeking my door open. I said, I'm hearing the noise again. And she goes, okay. Is there anybody else with you? No, I'm alone. And I don't know if I can get to the front door because my room is way in the back of the house. And I'm like, oh, okay. And she's like, ma'am, they're coming. I said, okay. Do you know how long it is going to be? I'm thinking to myself, by the time they get here, I'm dead. They're not going to get to me in time. And, by now, like I said, I usually don't let things bother me. But now my head, things are just really going crazy. And I'm really, really scared. And so she's like, okay, ma'am, do you have any guns in the house? Why, yes, I do. They're in the front bedroom, and I can't get to them. And she said, okay. So I think they're just checking out to make sure that, I wasn't going to pull a gun on them or anything when they got to the door. And she goes, we're going to hang on the phone with you until they get there. And I'll let you know when they're at the front door. I said, okay. So I'm standing by the door waiting and waiting. I'm like, how much longer? She said, they're checking out the perimeter. How many cars are in the driveway? I said, 3. How many are in there? And she's, it's okay, ma'am. Just hang on. I said, okay. And she gets to the door and she goes, they're at the door. Okay. She said, can you make it to the door? I said, I think so. So here I am creeping down the hall. The noise stops again. I'm like, oh man. Oh man. So I make it to the front door, open it up. There's 3 officers with their flashlight. Said, we checked out the perimeter, but we're going to come in and check out the house. I said, okay. I said, I think it's coming from the basement. I said, I think that's where it's coming from. She said, okay, we'll come in and check it out. So we were, they went and checked out the back, our backyard, and make sure everything is okay. Look, no prints in the snow. I'm like, okay, that's good. Getting ready to go down the basement. They've got, hands on the gun. They're getting ready to go, and there was 2 officers in my kitchen, and I'm in the hallway, and there's another officer kind of leading down the pack, and all of a sudden we're getting ready to go down there, and the one officer said, hey, is that the noise you heard? And I'm like, I don't know, I can't hear it. And he said, is that the noise? So I walk over. Yeah, that's the noise, but it's really, really quiet. But it got much louder than that. And he's like, well, I think this is where it's coming from. Well, we have a vent. So it sounds like it's coming from the basement, air return. So they're all, real serious now, and they're like, oh, okay, there's somebody here. Because they're hearing it now, and I'm thinking, I'm not crazy. They're hearing it. And all of a sudden it dawned on me, because it's right by the door, and earlier that day I'd been doing some stuff in there, and I had left the door open to that room, and this is where my hedgehog lives. And like I said, we're remodeling our basement. So he walks in with a flashlight, peers it on. I said, oh my God, it's my hedgehog. And my hedgehog is on its wheel, like this, and all of a sudden goes, what? Like, I'm exercising and pooping. Now leave me alone. And they're like, a hedgehog? We've never seen a hedgehog. I said, I am so embarrassed. You guys have more things to do with your time than come rescue somebody who has, obviously a hedgehog who's gone crazy. So the moral of this one is, it gets better. What happened is her wheel had changed positions. She was running so hard. It was hitting the outside of the metal cage. And on the outside of the metal cage, I have a 3-tier wrought iron candle holder. And it was banging up against that. That was banging up against the wall, which was then hitting the electric baseboard, which was then hitting all the new ductwork that we had in our house. So it echoed throughout the house. So yeah, it was pretty crazy. So I'm thinking when they left, they're like, oh, this is good. I'm thinking, oh, my hedgehog is going to show up on the newspaper as a happy ending. Things that aren't always what they appear to be. And so they left, they wanted to know about her, and so I introduced them to Daisy. They leave, and I'm thinking, what happens if it wasn't Daisy? Maybe there's somebody still down in the basement. And obviously they had the same thought, because I see their flashlights coming back. I was just shutting all the lights off, and I see the flashlight up by my door, and there's a knock, and they're like, we would really like to look at your basement. I'm like, oh, good, because I was kind of thinking the same thing. So they come drawn with their guns, and they go down my basement, and they've got all their guns. Nothing down there. It was the hedgehog. But it was kind of fun to watch them in action. So that's my story.